My group of business founders and I have built, scaled, and sold now 4 marketing agencies. And this is the dark truths about marketing agencies that nobody ever tells you about. First of all, marketing agencies as a whole, it's one of the easiest, lowest barrier to entry business models to get into. Just like consulting, for example, it's really easy to get into. And the lower the barrier to entry that there is to a specific industry or product or solution, the more people are going to want to do it, meaning your competition increases, making it more difficult to stand out from everybody else in the market. And the same exact thing applies with agencies. In the last 12 months, my agency, Omni AI, has collected over $1 million from our existing clients, and we're valued right now at $1.5 million, awaiting to have an exit. And the number one thing with agencies that is terrible, that I personally despise, is the amount of churn. The reason why people leave and the reason why people come to you in the first place is because they believe that having a business, if they're not getting clients, they always believe it's a marketing problem. And although marketing can fix their problems because they can talk to enough people and have a basis of how they want to build out their offer and what they want to do, if they're not getting results, it's never usually a marketing problem. What the marketing team does is they take whatever the client gives them and they use that to market. So for example, it might be like a discovery form, or it might be something that the client inputs, like a sheet or something like that, that the client gives to the marketing agency in order for them to do the actual service. But the problem is most businesses that reach out to marketing agencies and most businesses that sign marketing agencies, especially the smaller ones, they don't really have a good offer. Most of the time, they don't know what they're doing. And when things don't work, rather than looking back at themselves and saying, okay, did I give this company what they actually needed to be able to do a good job? Or am I just gonna blame them and then try to go work with somebody else and see the same exact problems, when the fact of the matter is that it's a problem with their offer, what actually that business is selling. One, it's not something that their actual customers want, or two, it's not the right platform. For example, if you're a company who wants to reach out to brick and mortar stores, like let's say, for example, you want to reach out to a food and beverage company or a restaurant, LinkedIn is not going to be your platform, but email might be. Ads might be. So you might be choosing the wrong channel, and there's a very terrible stigma with agencies because a lot of people fail when it comes to agencies. So the way to fight churn as an agency is to find a way, figure out what's causing them to churn, and remove yourself from that result. For example, rather than selling like a done for you service, you can sell a done with you service, and you can say, look, regardless of what it is, I'm doing this with you. So if in the case that something doesn't work, it's both of our jobs. We'll both take a look at it. We'll both make sure that this thing is working. This is a done with you thing where we're teaching you and working with you to make sure that this works. Because then what happens is they know what's going on in the background and they churn less. 6 months ago, and I've said this before, but 6 months ago, our whole entire client base was completely different. So we actually signed a list of like 30 freaking clients. And then 6 months after, we had another list of 30 freaking clients, and we replaced everybody completely outside of like 2 to 3 people. The good news is our team can sell. Great, we're selling a lot of money. The bad news is everyone is leaving. And so every single month you have to hit numbers. Otherwise, you fall back, you fall behind. People will stop working with you. And so I've built another business called Grow Big Ventures where churn isn't a problem anymore because of how we're offering this service, because we're detaching ourselves from the result. And the sad thing is, even if clients are getting good results, they will still leave. And you're working in a business where regardless, every single person who has worked with you ever outside of that one referral who your cousin referred you will leave at some point. Now that's the bad news. The good news is everybody wants it. Everyone wants to get qualified prospects. Everyone is looking for marketing. It's probably one of the most in-demand services that you can do as far as business development goes. That's the good news. The bad news is a lot of people leave and it's a very, very toxic market. So that brings me to the next question where it's like, how can I charge what I want, have it be results driven, and then at the same time, not have people leave within a few months of working with me? And the way to do that is what I call a tiered program. So rather than saying, here's our service, here it is, that's it, you're done, this is to the extent of what we can do. For example, my company was doing LinkedIn lead generation. So rather than saying, look, this is the extent of what we can do, what you can have is you can have a tiered system where they actually graduate based on the level that they're in. So for example, you can have an offer where it's really low barrier to entry and really easy to work with you. For example, what you can say is, look, and I love this offer, it's one of my favorite offers in the world, but what you can say is like, look, I charge $3,000, but you get a 50% discount. We'll do half of the volume until it works for you. Once we hit a number that's specific that you want, which is either a deal closed or a specific amount of sales or a specific amount of link clicks, whatever it might be, then at that level, we're gonna go up to our 3K a month regular retainer, right? And that's a great way to charge very little upfront and increase the perceived value of what your offer is. Because if you start right off the bat and say, hey, we charge $1,500, and if we do good, then it'll go up to $3,000. Instead, you're saying we charge $3,000. So that's our price point, but you actually get a really large discount until we get qualified meetings, until we hit that specific KPI. So the first tier is, let's just say, a $1,500 package. Okay, so you can see $1,500. We put this on the wall right here. $1,500. After $1,500, we will work with you and your sales team to close the deal. Once we close one deal, then we go from $1,500 to $3,000. And at the $3,000 mark, what happens is we can start to add more salespeople, more outreach, more people for you to talk to. We expand the thing that we tested on stage one. Once you start adding more people and you grow within the business, you don't want to grow outside the business. You want to grow within the business. And that's a massive difference. Growing outside the business means here's the service, here's what we provide. Growing within the business means you can't get rid of us. We hired your whole entire team. Imagine how difficult it is for you to hire somebody who's super important, who's super crucial within a team, and then they get rid of you. And you're keeping money on that staffing. You're keeping a monthly recurring value on the person that you hired. Or you create a system that they have to use right now because they need this system, and now they can't leave you. And this is exactly what you'd be doing here at the second stage. At the second stage, you're like, okay, great. You've tested us out. Now let's expand this. How can we increase the amount of marketing that we're doing for you? How can we hire individuals to work full-time in your business, VAs, other people? How can we start to give you extra tools that you can use within your business that you need to complement this, okay? And the best way to upsell, you're almost upselling them. The best way to do that is saying, well, if you have X, then you need Y. That's the easiest way to upsell. And then comes stage three. Stage three is my favorite stage, and it's the revenue share stage. That's the time where you do not churn. If you are good at marketing and you know what you're doing, you've been successful at marketing a specific business, there should be no reason why you can't go back to the company and say, give me a small percentage of your business. Give me 1%. If it's a company doing $100,000 a month and they give you 1%, that's $1,000. And to them, $1,000 isn't that much, and you basically sign an agreement that says for the next 3 years, you get that 1% and you'll continue to work with them and build their business within. And in that way, you lock yourself in contractually. Now you either own a percentage of the business or a top line revenue share or a ghost equity, something within the business where they can buy you out. You're not there for the whole entire lifetime of the business if the owners don't want you to be, for example, but you make it really unattractive for them to buy you out. If they buy you out, then they have to pay you 3 years worth. They got to pay you, 1,000 times 12. They got to pay you like 40, 50 grand to buy you out. Or they could just pay you $1,000 a month and who cares, right? And that's the final stage, the revenue share stage. And this is the ultimate way that you do not churn clients. The only reason why I like this way and I like this pattern that you can do is because an agency is only as good as its churn. That's the thing that people don't know about. And the problem is, in a world where you are reaching new levels and you have to continuously replace your clients, what'll end up happening is the more money that you make and the more money that you have to replace, the more money you have to spend on marketing and the larger your team is gonna be. So basically, your expenses are gonna go up just as fast as your profit is. And it's really difficult to get a month where you're really profitable and you keep that profit for months to come without having months that are terrible. So you're gonna go up, down, potentially plateau for a little while, but you're either gonna plateau and go down or you're gonna plateau and go up. And you wanna plateau and go up, and the only way to do it is to spend a lot of money on marketing, put in a lot of effort 24/7, but you as a business owner, you wanna exit the business. You don't wanna be in the business all day. And the best way to exit the business is to have companies that you built a system within, self-sustaining because of you, and they're still paying you without even needing you to come in and work with them. So think about that for a second. The dark truth about agencies is that they always need you. They're really high churn. You have to continue to replace the revenue that you brought in every single month. And that's annoying. That's a terrible thing to be a part of. So I'm a massive advocate of doing things to make sure that you are absolutely irreplaceable. And I don't mean you're so good that people don't replace you. I mean, they can't replace you if they tried. And that's where our business model, Grow Big Ventures, comes in. What we said is, okay, clearly people are blaming us because they may not have a good offer or they don't want to spend that type of money. What we can do is we can build our own tools in-house that we know can get them results, and we can build our own funnels and sell our experience and tell them how they can get the results. And that way, instead of working on just the marketing side of things and being like, okay, good luck, here's the marketing, we can work on their whole business. We can work on the offer. We can start to staff for them. We can start to do a ton of different things for that business, where even if they want to let go of something, they're still paying us for something else. Or even if they want to bring down the marketing, they're still paying us for something else. And that's the best way to be absolutely irreplaceable. And then again, the final stage of what this looks like is you keeping a percentage of that business. If you're running a traditional agency though, your problem is going to be at some point training people, because you're going to need some really A-level stars to keep the business floating. If your team does not pull through 1 or 2 months in any other business or any other industry that has a lower churn rate, then that's fine. They don't pull through 1 month, but they pull through another. You're still keeping the clients and your business is still growing. But if your team is not pulling through every single month and they're absolutely on their A game, you will not be able to scale an agency. And you might be asking me, how can these influencers scale their agencies? How can they do this? How can they do that? Because they don't need that many people. And they use their influence to be able to get sales. But if we're talking you doing straight marketing or you doing straight outbound, it'll always cost more to bring in leads than it is to keep what you already have. And that brings me to my next point, which is the team. You're good at your business. You're great. You might know how to do specific types of marketing. You might know how to get results. You might know how to close deals for yourself and even for other companies. But to train a team that's as good as you, or even 50% as good as you are, is difficult. And not many people can do it. And you have to spend lots of money to get an A-level team. If you think your team is A-level, you're probably wrong. Because A-level teams means you're not stepping into the business whatsoever. They're managing everything. They're getting results for clients. They're being proactive, and they take initiative not to do tasks, but they take initiative to grow the business. And that's the absolute dark side of it. The amount of effort and the amount of work that you have to put in just to stay afloat is immense. And it may not seem that way, but you need to have a pretty solid sales team. You need to continuously spend more and more and more and more on marketing every single month if you want to grow more. And at some point, you have to spend a ridiculous amount of marketing just to sustain. And so the agency, how it works is you spend X amount on marketing, and because of churn, your growth, let's say you spend $4,000 on marketing, you make $60,000. The second that this doesn't align with this is the second that you have to spend more on marketing to make more money. And so that's what the problem of churn does. One more time, you have to figure out a way, A, scale your business without a ton of people leaving. B, make sure that your team that you're working with is able to actually understand that business and they're able to get trained on it. And C, you need to make sure that you're bringing in enough clients every single month to stay afloat. Otherwise, my biggest recommendation and what I've done on my businesses that's helped me out a ton is just do this model. It's a tiered system. And it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you have another option that they can go for and you sell them that option. If they've already said yes to you once, they're gonna say yes to you again. I'll give you an example. We actually had a client within the business, and I still remember this till this day, where they were using our Omni AI tool, which is a tool that we were giving prospects and saying like, look, you can use this tool to get leads, and it's a tool that you pay like $300, $400 for, nothing crazy. And so we gave this tool to one of our clients and they were like, great, fantastic, thanks for the tool. They sucked, they didn't get much results. So we're like, well, clearly this tool isn't working for you. Why don't you let us, the professionals, handle this? You just gotta pay us a little bit more. So then they went and paid us a little bit more. And then we started managing it for them. And then that didn't do too well from their side because we were getting them the leads, but they weren't closing enough of the leads because of their lack of sales experience, or their offer just wasn't good, or they didn't know how to convert a person who was interested into somebody who is qualified prospects. And so what we did afterwards is when we gave them the retainer, when we were, charging them a few $1,000s to do the service for them, and they didn't get this, then they were like, I don't know, because not every single person we want to talk to, and this, and that, and the fourth. So we were like, okay, why don't we just do a pay per lead basis? Why don't we just charge you once we get the lead? And they agreed to that. And then we started charging them once they got the lead. And then after that was done, then they went to something else. So the biggest thing that you have to do is you have to move, and you got to move quick. And you got to continuously test. That does play into every single business, but agencies alone, they're not stable. That's the harsh truth. If you want to build a long-lasting, stable business where, people are coming back and people are paying you every single month, the agency is not your thing. The agency might be good for you to learn very easily and very quickly, but it's not going to be what you do for the rest of your life. I could tell you that much. If you want to learn about these offers and these strategies that I'm discussing right now, and how they work in action, feel free to check out growbigventures.com. At growbigventures.com, what we do is we actually implement these strategies, and we have a return on investment calculator that actually tells you how much you're currently closing and how many more leads you need to be able to get to the next level. So it'll actually do a calculator for you to tell you how much more money you'd make if you had 100 more leads. Feel free to check that out in the description, and that's it. Thank you so much.